Alright guys, welcome to the 21st episode of Below the Bar.
In this episode, expect to find out how not to navigate your school years, why you shouldn't wear an Air Cadet uniform on Mufti Day,
And what caused Eddie to break down in tears in an art lesson.
Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to episode 21.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're on 21 Below the Bars now.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, welcome back.
This is a legacy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, have we done two Lift and Lids back to back now?
Yeah.
So we're back in now to non-military content, which I'm sure you're all glad to know. I certainly am.
Can't wait for us to go down like a lead balloon.
Yeah, can't wait till our viewership goes down now.
Yeah. So this is kind of the first episode of a two-parter, all about school.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Basically, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're coming at this through our experience of school. Obviously, we went to school together, so it'd be quite interesting to kind of thrash out how different our individual experiences were, and then the second part will be us kind of taking a little bit more of a deeper dive into deconstructing the education system in the UK and why we don't really think it's fit for purpose.
Exactly. But to do that best, we thought that we need to kind of illustrate our experiences of school.
Yeah.
Because it will then give you a better picture of why we think it needs changing.
Exactly.
So this is going to be a lesson in how not to do secondary school effectively.
Yeah, so I hope all of you are listening are 13, because otherwise it's irrelevant to you.
Yeah, and if you have already been through secondary school, you can sit back and just laugh at how tragically I performed at school.
Yeah, and hopefully it brings back some nostalgia for you. But anyway, without further ado, we'll go through Helmet of the Week, which is...
Helmet of the Week. Helmet of the Week is competitive bodybuilding.
Yeah, so this could rub some people the wrong way. And
Probably.
I hope it does.
It's good though because they won't actually have the energy to fight back because they're in such a calorie deficit.
Yeah, it's true.
they can barely maintain basic bodily function.
Well, they've barely got the energy to pose. So yeah. I think we're in the clear for typing. So yeah, the idea that you're effectively going to train for 16 to 20 weeks, diet down for 16 to 20 weeks, to cover yourself in fake tan, stand in like really, really small pants on a stage in front of loads of people and flex.
Yeah, so we need to establish some ground rules here.
Yeah,
because we're not on about
a broad brush.
We're not on about bodybuilding as a training method.
No.
You know, so if you just go to the gym and you kind of want to put on muscle, chances are the type of training you will do will adhere to bodybuilding parameters.
Yeah, you will adopt the bodybuilding drill.
Exactly. We're on about the kind of nth degree of bodybuilding at the competitive end.
Yeah.
Whereby you kind of, like you said, you're going through phases of extreme cutting,
extreme bulking,
extreme drug use. Yeah, everything's just heightened to the extent where it's incredibly unhealthy.
Well, yeah, everything that would initially be healthy, so potentially dieting, training, even bulking to a certain extent, is taken to a point where it's now unhealthy. So they're taking it so far into an extreme where it's unhealthy. So like, certainly when you're competing, on that end, when you're super lean and super dry and dieted down, for blokes, like basic hormonal function isn't happening. For women, basic hormonal functioning isn't happening. So women don't get menstrual cycles when they diet down too far. Men can't get it up when they diet down too far. So like your basic like bodily functions are now ceasing to exist just because you've gone so low in body fat. So if anyone doesn't know, fat is one of the things that governs hormonal function. So if you go super low in your fat reserves, then your body just goes, well, I haven't got enough of it to perform these things. So it just stops doing it.
Yeah, which is good because then your body effectively is in a process of shutting down.
Well, exactly, which is great. Well, what happened, and you'll see there's actually videos of this on Instagram and YouTube, is like there are elite bodybuilders who look like at the top, at the peak physical condition. Like you would think, fucking hell, they are strong, like shredded, all these kind of things, and they on stage are literally collapsing into people's arms and like taking a knee because they haven't got enough energy to stand upright. It's like it's such the antithesis of physical peak performance is standing on a stage at a bodybuilding competition, which is like the top of that sport. Whereas any other sport that's kind of performance based, the top of the sport, so like when you're in competing season,
Yeah, so if
when you're competing, you're at the top of your physical game.
Yeah, so if you take any other sport, like you said, so like say if you're a triathlete, you're at the top when you're competing on race day.
Yeah, you're well fueled. You're trained to like peak at that point. You're physically the best you've been, and then you'll perform well.
But with
To
bodybuilding,
perform well on a bodybuilding stage, you have to be at the
you're
edge
actually
of
your
passing
weakest.
out. Yeah.
The strongest you probably are as a professional bodybuilder is after a competition when you have like a week or so of normality before it all starts again.
Yeah, well, that's well, yeah, probably in your off season is when you're the strongest. You're like bulking, you're eating a little bit more, and then you're training still. But when you get really, really far down, and I don't care what anyone says, like it's not attractive either. Like for anyone people who do it for like a physical challenge, I kind of get it. But again, just do something that's like going to be healthy for the body. So like go and compete in like a triathlon, go and compete in a 10k race or something like that, where it's going to be actually ROI positive for your physical being, rather than just looking at this from a purely aesthetic standpoint and going, I'm going to challenge myself, but I'm going to put my body and health through the mill at the same time.
You shouldn't aspire to look like a professional bodybuilder, really, for the health reasons outlined, and also the fact that it's just too extreme.
Yeah.
If you live like that, it would consume your entire existence.
It does, yeah.
Because there's calorie counting, and then there's like professional bodybuilding, like calorie counting,
Like macro counting.
Yeah,
where
well, like
to the gram of carbohydrates.
Yeah,
You've got to be on.
but not even just like carbohydrates, like fluids and liquids as well.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't sustain a normal day-to-day existence doing that.
Well, you haven't got the energy fundamentally. Like
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, you have to just concentrate on doing
all
that.
your chips in a day. If you look at your time as chips, all those things are pushed into that bodybuilding show. Like everything you do, so from sleeping, from how many steps you do, from how much extra exercise you do outside the gym, from your training sessions, your diet, your hydration, all of these things are dialed in for one purpose. But
it can't be fun either.
Where's
the enjoyment there? Looking like a fucking boner.
Yeah, well, this is it. Some people will find it attractive. I get everyone's different with that, but
you physically wouldn't have the energy to laugh anyway. Even
yeah,
you know what I mean?
True. It's I don't know. It's one of those things that it's very strange that we deem super lean people and people who look like, I guess, you know, the archetype like Superman, superhero kind of thing, as the top of, like, if you're not in the know, you deem that as the top of physical performance or like physical fitness. You would think they're the fittest people.
Yeah.
People who stand up, but actually, it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, like they're underfueled. They're stiff as a board.
Well, the performance wise, if you ask them to do anything other than 8 reps at
they can't do
squats,
shit, can they? That's what I mean.
the
The thing is, probably don't even squat.
No,
Probably don't even do compound movements. They just do machines.
They're
in the fucking Cybex circle jerk.
yeah.
The range of movement.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
You're not a fan of machines.
If you're a Cybex nose out there, take a long hard look in the mirror and get in the fucking squat rack, you virgin.
Well, yeah, that's the training methodology probably isn't ideal in terms of from like a performance standpoint, because that's not their goal. But in terms of any other metric, like if you have to run down the road, or if you know that's
I don't run.
That's to scrap someone that have no capacity.
That's your armchair BJJ coming back into the.
Well, they would have no capacity. Like if they were grabbing on, like using muscle glycogen and shit to continue to hold someone or whatever, they just gas out.
Well, they're just like big puffy muscles, aren't they?
Mm.
They can't utilise them.
They're all show and no go.
Yeah. Well, the type of training they do doesn't utilise any lot of the smaller stabiliser muscles in your body either.
No.
So you look big, but you can't actually do anything with them. And if you were to try to, you'd probably just get injured.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because you're used to performing in a very strict, fixed range of motion.
Mm. And like you say, you don't use any stabilisers when you're doing machines, do you?
No.
You're taking that target muscle through a great range of motion, but all the stabilisers around it aren't getting any use because they're not something that gets judged on a bodybuilding stage.
So that's good. Anyway, that's enough about talking about bodybuilding. It fundamentally bores me.
Well, yeah, even the training methodology bores me.
In fact, I was boring myself talking about it then. So
yeah, that's good.
Right, so let's talk about how pathetic we were at school.
Yeah, I can't wait for this. So for the next 45 minutes, we will be painting ourselves in a rather bad light.
Yeah. For your entertainment, though, you'll probably think it's great.
Yeah.
I've got a therapy session booked in after this. So. Right, so let's start out then by briefly outlining our school, just to paint a picture.
Okay.
So we went to like a stereotypical kind of
Middle class.
suburban middle class state comprehensive.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a lot like the In-Betweeners school. It looked
Very good school.
It looked a bit like it because it was a new build, wasn't it?
Yeah, true. It's a very modern school. It's really good, to be honest. It was like you said, middle class, predominantly white, predominantly like, I guess not rich, but it's not like a poor area, is it? I guess
It's pretty affluent.
Yeah.
Area.
So it was a pretty good school, and it was
It's
quite
certainly
high performing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly wasn't like a kind of rough inner city school by any means. Like
no chance. It was well, like I say, it was quite high performing.
it was very wet, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and
it was saft,
and that's what we're getting to. Really, we were saft
because we were saft because of that.
As a result.
Yeah, so you've got to frame all of the kind of
the following
through that prism effectively.
Yeah. We're not in like a inner city rough Detroit school, so a lot of this stuff wouldn't have flown in that kind of school.
No, exactly. So do you want to go first then? I think we should briefly give the listeners an overview of kind of our trajectory across kind of the 5 years at that school.
It's a difficult task.
Because we both went through kind of like a coming of age story, I guess.
I don't really know how to do that justice, to be honest. But well, we start? We're gonna get into this anyway. We started in the same form, didn't we? So
yes.
So our school had like, was it 7? I guess forms that you would go into.
Yeah. So your entire year was broken down into 7 forms.
Yeah.
And that would be kind of like where you go first thing in the morning to get registered.
Yeah, that was like your house if you were in a posher school. And then you would go from there into your various classes and stuff and probably segregate off. But we were in the same form, weren't we?
Yeah.
And then we weren't like mates initially, I don't think.
No.
But
I wasn't mates with anyone, which we'll get into.
We were aware of one another. But the thing is different. The major difference was I came from a primary school which was mega local, so I had loads of mates who came with me. So I knew quite a lot of people from that, and you didn't.
They tried to do that though, didn't they? So like,
yes.
They tried to group people from same primary schools so that initially you would have that point of contact, like you'd have mates. But because I came from I was the only person from my primary school.
Yeah, so you had none.
Which is like, you've also a fundamental kind of piece of information in the Eddie Rex secondary school puzzle. Yeah. You've got to appreciate that I was a loner.
Yeah, you were, certainly at the
start.
I
was a fat ginger loner.
But you were able to reinvent yourself.
Which we'll get into.
But so yeah, I had some mates coming in to school, which was good, and then I was just massively into, like, I guess football was all I cared about, so I didn't really pay attention at school. Wasn't fucking bothered about any of the lessons or anything, but I was just playing football on a lunchtime, and then as we go through like year 7, year 8, I guess it's the same kind of thing, and then year 9, I guess my affinity to the military came in.
Yeah.
And that's when I became a little bit more difficult to get on with, should we say?
We'll get into this.
Yeah, we'll get it. Well, this is an overview.
He's
paint a brief picture.
You kind of had like. You had a weird kind of mental breakdown at school.
I had a bit of a midlife crisis at school.
At the age of 14.
Yeah, so as soon as I realised I wanted to, for some reason, I wanted to join the military, my mind instantly went to I'm past all this. This is all bollocks to me. So I initially went, for some reason, 14-year-old Shepherd's was like, now that I've told myself that I'm going to join the military, I'm instantly nails.
Yeah, it's good. The whole British education system is below me.
Exactly. This can fucking suck. Anyway, so yeah, year 9, 10, 11, I was kind of
you cosplaying a military man,
yeah,
weren't you, effectively?
Yeah, I was kind of acting for the entire time.
It was very much a method acting situation, wasn't it? It was
and I recruited some. I recruited some bods to ferry round as my confidants.
Yeah. So I think that's a fair.
I was really into, I got really into, for some reason, like survival skills and all this fucking weird shit. And like Bear Grylls and all this sort of stuff. I was super into
We have
that.
mentioned the Bear Grylls phase before on the podcast.
But, I mean, it was pretty hardcore in year 9.
Yeah. I think to the extent where not only like your peers kind of struggled to kind of get on with you, but also teachers, I think, actually found you quite difficult in the end.
Well, it's not too relatable for other 14-year-olds, is it? You know, someone who's binge watching Man vs Wild every fucking night. You know, fantastic. And then going home and like, what I remember doing. This is mad, right? What I remember doing was, how did I do it? I didn't have an Amazon account, so I couldn't have an Amazon account because I didn't have like a credit card basically. And so I would save up money. I would go and buy a £50 Amazon gift voucher, which is the only way I could pay on Amazon. Right, and then I would go and buy like a Bear Grylls knife on Amazon, and it would come. Mum would be like, "How the fuck have you got a knife in the house?" I was like, "Ah, don't worry about it." And I kept fucking. I stacked up. Bear Grylls had like a merchandise range of like a fire starter, a knife, and like all this random shit. I remember like proper saving up loads and loads of money from our little shit job at a corner shop to buy all this stuff. I've still got it. But
yeah, you had like the full range of Bear Grylls merchandise,
just in case something happened in suburban Kings Winford. They'd need this fire starting capability.
I remember. Right, we go up to the woods to test out all this survival kit. Yeah. This suburban woods. It's about 400 metres from our house, right? And then we try and start a fire with like a flint and steel, and then obviously that takes time, and you've got to kind of nurture it and bring it to life. We'd chin that off after about a minute. Because your ADHD didn't have the time for it, and I wasn't that invested in survival. So we get the deodorant and the lighter out and just start flamethrowing it.
Well,
it kind of defeats the object of the activity.
I think that comes back to cosplay and Survivor Man. But anyway, so I did a lot of that, and that was like kind of my personality for a long time. I guess for that kind of 3-year period, 14, 16 maybe, probably, wasn't it?
I think that's a fair representation of your kind of school years. You were very much kind of like typical like young teenager to start with, like very much into football, like typical CR7, wearing the Mercurials everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you transitioned into cosplaying Sergeant Shepherd.
Yeah, we've actually brushed over that a little bit. My my CR7 days were heavy. Right, I was super obsessed with Ronaldo. I remember to the point where I went into the barbers and asked, with a photo of Cristiano Ronaldo,
like he fucking wouldn't know who Ronaldo is.
Yeah, and showed him, mate, make me look like this. And he went, oh fucking hell, you look more like him than he does, mate. Because I was super obsessed.
You have a very obsessive personality.
So as I've learned, I've harnessed this now, but I have an extremely obsessive personality, and if that's something you don't realise and don't know how to deal with, it can take over, which happened, I think.
This is good now though, because you acknowledge it. If you start to get into something, you can almost think to yourself, "Is this going to be like net positive for me?"
Yeah.
And if it is, then you can carry on with it. Yeah. And if it's not, you shut it down. Whereas before,
I just let things take me.
Because
I wasn't aware of it, and then like that military thing or the survival thing or whatever would just take over my personality. But anyway, you go.
Right, so my story's just slightly more harrowing. So I turned up and I didn't know anyone.
Yeah, that's always good.
And it took a while for me to settle in.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of tears before school at the age of about 12, which is saft, isn't it?
That's not good.
I was on anxiety medication for a bit.
Yeah. I remember this. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Because I'd dry heave before school. Again, this is good.
Oh, man. Okay, yeah.
And then, so like, I was like a fat ginger kid, which is never a great start when you go to secondary school and you don't know anyone.
Exactly, yeah. Because you've got like, it's very base, isn't it, at that age?
You don't want anything that makes you stand out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of the opposite of being an adult, whereby
all about fitting in.
You do want, as you get older, you do want nuances that obviously make you more interesting. But at school, it's all about fitting in. It's conformity.
Yeah. And so if you don't, for a negative or a deemed negative reason, then it can be, that's like the undoing, isn't it?
Yeah. So year 7, pretty shit. Year 8 and 9, I was basically just like a fucking overweight gamer, effectively. That's how I describe it. Like, so I didn't mind school. I just kind of fit in. Got, like, obviously me and you were friends by then.
Yeah.
And then year 10 and 11. So, like, the first few years of school, I'm very kind of inward looking and introverted. I discover the gym, and then I go too far the other way. And I basically become, like, a massive walking gimmick.
Yeah,
Well, at any given opportunity, I'll be in a vest. I will exclusively associate with people who also go to the gym.
Yeah.
And I'll spend all of my time reminding people that I do bicep curls.
And that's that. So if you're watching on video, Eddie's got quite large arms, right? He hasn't trained these arms for about 6 years. They're just a product of insecurity from the ages of 15 to 18.
But you know those like really formative like beginner games when you first start training.
Yes.
So like if I'd actually had a balanced kind of gym program,
You might have some legs.
my entire my entire body could be stackers.
Yeah.
But because all I used to train when I first started going to the gym was arms, I've just got massive overdeveloped biceps, which now hinders me all through life.
Class. Yeah, so that's probably a fair representation. You had like, so the same way like in year 9, kind of I had like a midlife crisis. You had like the opposite kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, so I went down like trying to be like the cool kid.
Yeah.
Which, as we'll get into, I had varying degrees of success with. But like I definitely went down that kind of stereotypical like house party route at that age, which most people do.
I went down complete opposite.
Yeah, you went
I was
down
like
like fucking Stig of the Dumps,
I was
didn't you?
fucking monk mode, mate. For that's mental.
Shep invented monk mode before monk mode was a thing.
Yeah, literally. I was fucking like proper. I don't know what.
Because you didn't even have a phone.
Yeah,
Like
very
you-
true.
Like not through your own choice. You just always
I
break.
just always break it. And my dad was like, "You're not having a fucking other one."
Yeah. So you were like off grid.
No, I had like a BlackBerry once, I remember, and that broke. And then I couldn't bring myself to tell my parents that it broke, so I wasn't going to get a new one. Spending all my money on fucking knives anyway, so I couldn't get a new one anyway. And then I had a little like a shit Nokia one, didn't I, for ages?
Yeah.
And I was like off grid because this is when social media started to come in as well. So I was off that, and everyone else is like bonding over the fact they're on whatever BBM or Facebook or whatever it was, and they're all like communicating over these memes, and I'm just out of the loop completely.
Yeah, so
It's mental.
So like the early to kind of mid stage of us being at secondary school was when social media like really blew up. So like you said, everyone is now on
Snapchat, was it really?
Snapchat, like
yeah.
Instagram was getting big. So like everyone's all over this social media hype, and you're fucking off grid.
Completely.
So it's
Which
like
is absolutely mental.
So outside of school, you were almost like a folklore. No one knew where you were because you weren't documenting your time outside of school.
No.
People just assumed that you were doing like intervals in the woods. I think.
Probably was. That's probably not far away from the truth. The same happened in terms of fitness. So I got into fitness. I was always fit, to be fair. I always did kind of active stuff. But I got into like, I guess, doing my own phys when I was about year 9, I think. So about 14 again, same kind of time. But I never went to the gym. This is another one of my like weird outcast things, I guess. Like, you know, because the gym's like in. The gym's like what all the fucking normal people did.
Yeah.
I was like, I ain't doing that. So
That's 100%. So I obviously saw the gym as like what the in kids did. So I put all my eggs in that basket. And you having the opposite mindset to me, thought everyone's doing that. I'll do the opposite.
Well, it was almost like, because I knew the end goal was, at that time it was actually the paras, but anyway, the end goal was the military. I always saw that as well. I don't need to be doing, and I always be told on YouTube and stuff, the little bit of research I was doing, that I didn't need to go to the gym. So I was like, okay, cool, I don't need to go and spend money on a gym membership. So I remember buying a book that had like a program on it that was just running and bodyweight stuff, and I would do that, and then I would take that as that was like a 6-week or something plan, and I would just take that as gospel and just do that for like 3 years, and I just did loads and loads of running, loads of push-ups and loads of fucking pull-ups basically. I got really good at them, but as you can probably imagine, without any proper nutrition, which we'll probably get into, and without any proper fucking training parameters, I didn't build any muscle. I was quite shredded kind of thing. I was quite like
you were
dense in terms of, I was really light, but I had no fat on me really. But I had no size.
It probably didn't put you in bad stead for the military, but you should have supplemented it with a bit of strength training. I think.
Oh well, knowing that now, but that was my kind of journey with fitness, and then from there to, I guess the first time I kind of did like proper compound lifting was at college, so 17, I think, which is mental really, because that's proper late now, considering most people probably starting at 14, and we'll go into a general gym environment doing squats and deadlifts.
Yeah, and that'll be like their first exposure to the gym.
I remember you did like 120 at 17, and that was like my max.
I'm absolutely hanging out.
I had that. No, this was it. I had that as my bank password for about 4 years. No, I deadlift 130 was my bank password for 4 years. Genuinely, because I set it when I was in year 7. I couldn't be asked to change it. I would remember. And so that's mad, isn't it? That's how much fucking identity I attached to deadlifting 130 kilos, which is fuck up.
But then, yeah.
Go on.
Right, so you've got a broad kind of brushstroke picture now of kind of what we were like throughout school. But now I thought, as a bit of a laugh, compiled like our individual top 5 kind of like funny moments at school.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any of these either, it should be said. So
I think this will give you a much better in detail idea of kind of little micro moments at school that kind of encapsulate what we were like.
Yeah,
basically.
I'm excited for this. This should be hilarious.
And they're from different points throughout school.
We'll give the context, and also we'll just deconstruct them as we go.
Yeah. So do you want to do alternate, or do you want to do
alternate?
All right. Okay. Yeah. So we'll do your 5th one first. We've already touched on this, so I've also tried to rank them in order of kind of hilarity.
Okay, I like that.
So this is burner phone boy.
Right. Okay.
This is the fact that it was just a known thing that if Shep got a new phone, it wouldn't last more than about a week.
There was actual time where I didn't have a phone. Like,
yeah.
You know, I said I'd like a kind of Nokia or whatever. There was a time for like a 6-month period, I remember, where I didn't have a phone.
Yeah.
Mental.
You were a bit like someone's grandparents, you know what? Where like they need a phone, but no one wants to waste a good phone on them, so they'll just give them like a hand-me-down like old burner phone or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So I remember you went through quite a few like hand-me-down phones.
Because my brother's a massive advocate of Android, and he'd always have his Android, and I'd have like the one below him, or maybe like, you know, his hand-me-down, which would be breaking, and then I'd break it even further, and then I would get my like the staple kind of Nokia 3310. And that would be my phone. But then for a period of time, I had nothing. I had no phone.
2 particular moments stand out in my eyes. I think these happened. You'll have to confirm them. I think you lost one on a morning run. Because you used to run around the woods in the dark. Well, obviously not deliberately in the dark, but during the winter it would be dark when you did it.
That's mental.
Before we did our paper. So we'd have a paper. Did you do a morning paper?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, and then you'd run before that as well. Yeah. And I think you were running around the woods and it fell out your pocket. And obviously because it was dark, you just lost it.
I remember that.
And the other one was, didn't you jump into the swimming pool before a swimming lesson with the phone in your pocket?
No, someone else did that.
Was it someone else?
I think so. Might have been me. It was at the end of the year, and this individual jumped in because he was like being a bit of bravado in his school uniform. Thought, be great if I just jumped in the swimming pool now. And his phone in his pocket and he obviously broke.
Was this at the end of school or just the end of one of the school years?
Might be the end of the years.
Right, okay.
I think.
So we were talking off air earlier whether to kind of incriminate individuals by actually naming them. I think
refer to them as individuals.
Yeah, I think so. Depending on the story, depending on whether it's kind of like crucial to the actual crux of the story,
critical.
They might remain anonymous for legal reasons.
Yeah, and depending on how much we like the individual, so.
And whether we're still in contact with them. If we're our mates still, then we'll throw them under the bus. But.
Yeah. So I think that was someone else, but there was a lot of instances of me losing phones. I can't remember what kept happening, to be honest, because I'm not that bad with them now. I'm not great with anything. But...
You're a lot better. You were really fucking ditzy, like, at a younger age, though. Like,
just organisation was horrific.
Yeah, so like your school bag, I think this is where the Marines actually did you good, because it instilled like a tiny morsel.
Yeah.
Because your school bag was like a lucky dip. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So like on any given day, Shet would turn up with a random array of books
It would
in his bag.
typically be the day before.
You were just.
If there's any overlapping, like I had English one day, English the next day. I was like, sweet, got the right books.
So it was effectively a lucky dip as to whether you'd have the right books for that day or not.
Yeah, and I would always build up a nice bank of coats in the form room. So in the form room, I guess especially for the winter, I would kind of it would start off in the cold in the morning, So I'd walk to school with a coat, and then it'd be warm, so I'd ditch the coat at school and walk back with no coat. And that just happened over and over and over again. So I like accumulated about 20 or 30 coats in a term period, and then everyone would take their coats. It would just be a big coat rack of my coats, and I had to like lug them home. And that was like every term, basically. So my organisation skills were horrific at the best of times.
Yeah, because you'd go home at the end of term like a pack mule, just
Shit.
laden down like you were doing an Everest expedition or something.
Yeah, maybe that's why I was alright at Yomping.
Yeah, well, extra fucking. Right, so my fifth one, and this involves you, as you reminded me before we went on air, is Rubbergate.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah, and I know it's not that type of rubber. It's a fucking pencil rubber.
Yeah, do you want it going?
Would you want to? This involves you, so I think you should tell this because this is your side of the story.
Okay.
This paints.
I don't remember the actual the rubber bit. You'll remember that better, I think.
Right.
But I remember the outcome. So I'll go through the outcome.
But this story kind of encapsulates how kind of weedy and wet I was in like the first year of school, effectively.
Yeah, I think me and someone else were like taking the piss out of you a bit, or something, or doing something.
I don't even think it was that much.
Was it like? Did you just rob your rubber or something?
Yeah. I think you just asked to borrow my rubber.
Then kept it.
And then
Give it back.
And then just kept. I think I asked for it back, and you were just like, I think that was the extent of the Mickey taking.
Probably. And then you took that to the nth degree, and went to our pastoral leader and reported that. Right.
Imagine reporting that to your head of year.
And this was in like the second week of school, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And then we got threatened with. Did we get threatened with expulsion or something?
I think so, yeah. Because our head of year was a bit of a helmet.
Yeah, I think. Well, also you had the might of your parents behind you. Yeah. This is fantastic. Eddie's parents, when he doesn't know, we consist of a teacher and a head teacher. So when it comes to fiddling the education system,
the might of the education system behind me.
Yeah, so I think they were quite intimidated by that, and they took a hard stance because of it.
That actually worked against me though for the first years, because I think if I didn't have that and I had parents who basically told me to fucking grow up a bit, it you know, I think it.
But you can get out of anything, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
If your parents are generally, you know, if your parents are willing to ring the school and go, "Oh, what's happened to my kid?"
It just gives you an
out, yeah, which is bullshit.
Which
really.
I don't think.
I use that a lot as well. Like that's fucking bollocks. Like something would happen, I'd be rightly being disciplined for it or whatever, and I'd be kicking off, and then I'd be like, "Mom, you got to ring the school, you know, fucking tell them that I was." But it's like she wasn't even there. So it's mental, isn't it? Really, think about it.
But it just that just shows how kind of socially awkward I was in like year 7, because like I said, you asked to borrow one of my, so like obviously as well, because I was a fucking massive dweeb, I turned up on the first day of year 7 with like a 4-foot pencil case.
The opposite to me, basically.
Everything from fucking Ryman's within it.
Yeah. The opposite to myself.
So I was just basically people just tea leafing stationery off me, like left, right, and centre.
The original tea leaf.
Because like you said, like people like you didn't have any stationery.
This was funny because this is actually a running theme through first of all my entire school career and then my entire military career. I didn't bring anything, and I would just rely on someone like you to have packed everything in surplus and go, "Oh, I can have one of them." Yeah. So I would have no weapons cleaning kit, for example, right, in the military. But like, I'd have like the bare bones, and then I would need something, and I would always have a bloke in my eye line like, all right, he's always got everything. I'll go and get it. Yeah. So it's always the same.
Yeah, but so basically, you asked to borrow my rubber instead of having the basic kind of social skills to ask for it back in like a fucking humorous way. I've just kind of parked that memory, and then after the lesson, like hot stepped it down to pastoral and grassed you and that other lad up.
Yeah.
And then effectively demanded that you got excluded.
Yeah, and that was actually a threat. And I was like, for this? Like, really? I was like, this is how my story's going to go. I got excluded for rubber
Did you have to give me a formal apology?
Something like that. Yeah, I think I had to write something. I remember having to write something.
That's pathetic.
And then like, two months later, we were fucking best mates, which is mental.
Yeah, it's like those people that meet by having a scrap, and then like they have a pint and they're best mates.
Yeah,
that's our equivalent of that.
Exactly.
Is it incredibly wet middle class equivalent of that?
Like, incredibly dorky equivalent of that. Anyway, that's funny. That is. Go on.
Right. Okay. So your number 4 is lunchtime fizz.
Lunchtime fizz.
And this feeds into your kind of midlife military crisis.
Yeah, give me a specific example. I've got a few in my head, so go on.
Well, it's kind of amorphosised into one memory, but I do certain kind of distinct memories of like, so you'd go up onto the field and do pull-ups on trees and stuff. And this is in the middle of winter, so everyone else is just
chilling by the like.
Well, they're in social rooms inside because it's raining. And they can see out onto the field, the top of the field.
I've dragged some unwilling bloke basically out at night.
You've dragged one of your sprogs.
Yeah.
For some lunchtime.
One of my disciples. Right, come on. Fucking, we go do some pull-ups outside, mate. It's raining.
You'd come into form after lunch, absolutely dripping wet head to toe.
And the teacher would be like, where the fuck have you
been?
been?
Your heart rate, like, zone 4. Yeah. Because you've just done, like, a Murph at lunchtime.
Yeah. Completely ridiculous, by the way. I just, like, this is the ADHD, though, innit? I had so much energy, and I was sat in school, like just not doing anything physical. And I would just be, like, fucking vibrating with energy, and then I'd just go outside and have to do something.
Yeah, so you'd have, like, 3 hours of lesson, 3 hours of morning lessons worth of energy, like pent up, and then you'd release it all at lunchtime by doing some like mental hit session on the field.
You're always like worse when you're a kid, or like, with energy. Like you always got more energy. I've got loads of energy now for physical stuff, but like you always got 10 times more when you're that age, kind of with all the testosterone's kind of building up and that. And so I just didn't know how to deal with it. And so yeah, I did a load of that. I also remember, I don't know if you've got this, you know, the self-defense class.
We can tie this into the lunchtime fizz, though.
So I think this is year 10. Well, so this stems as well. This is quite interesting because this kind of speaks to now my obsession with teaching and trying to fucking relay information onto people, which is now my job. But me and another individual had started a martial art ages. He was a black belt in it. I was like a brown belt at this point. And we're like, well, we're doing a disservice to the school if we don't pass on this information.
Yeah, proper moral compass.
Yeah, so we started a proper like self-defence class, and it wasn't anything official. We hadn't got it ratified by the school or anything like that.
It was like
we just poke our head in the sports hall. Yeah, no one's in there, Sam. So we went in there and we like passed it around all the people. Everyone came out of
it's not Fight Club.
Out of like irony.
First rule of Fight Club is you don't mention self-defence class.
Yeah, so everyone came out of basically irony, which is fucking fair because it was ridiculous. And we were trying to teach them like grabs and holds and stuff, and people obviously just taking the piss.
Yeah, it just turned into like a fucking ironic scrap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so it was quite funny, but that was some. I think we did that quite a few times for like a couple of years.
You need to really kind of wheedle out the gold of this story though. You need to explain the dynamic with a certain other individual.
What do you mean?
Like the fact, right?
Go on.
Without disclosing his identity,
you need to get him off. Go on.
We need to disclose this kind of. We need to explain this individual to someone. I'm not sure how to do it without kind of just giving away his identity.
Well, no one knows his name anyway. So.
Well, he was colloquially known as Sensei Yates, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For the latter years of school. So this is your sprog, effectively, your disciple.
Yeah.
Who latched onto your kind of your military principles.
Mm.
And you took him under
the pretense that he was also going to join the military.
Yeah, which we all kind of knew deep down he wasn't going to.
But
it just added to the joke.
So he was actually really, really good at the martial art. He was the martial arts in question.
Yeah, that's why we called him Sensei Yates.
Yeah, because he'd done it from like a really, really young age.
Was he like a black belt or something?
Yeah, he was a black belt or something. Yeah. And I just started it kind of a bit more recently. And so being pally with him meant that I could improve at a fucking higher rate effectively because I was training more with someone who was better than me. And so that kind of that relationship blossomed. I think he also wasn't extremely popular, it's fair to say.
No, so obviously like he was incredibly proficient at karate.
Yeah, but not incredibly proficient at social skills.
Exactly, you've hit the nail on the head there.
And so I think the fact that he was the ability to like, he was getting a close mate in someone was pretty new, I guess. I don't think.
Yeah, 100%. I think
this was like a couple of years in. And so yeah, like I say, I took him under my wing, and he fucking loved that basically.
So he was like full on he was, when we say disciple, we're not joking, he was like your right hand man.
Yeah, he was,
people think we're a double act now, like you two were the original double act.
The original double act, yeah.
The OG double act.
Yeah, and then so to the point, and again, this is like ridiculous, like doing like karate in the fucking corridors and shit. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, we'll get on. Actually, we'll cover this now because I want to talk about something else later, but. So, another individual who you also took under your wing was very much into the same. Well, you didn't have a. Did you have a martial art background? Yeah.
Kickboxing.
So you were like a little trio, right?
That's true, actually. That's why it was, wasn't it? There wasn't that many more people who did martial arts.
So you literally kind of
under clothes, because it's not a cool thing back then. Like certainly things like karate aren't the in thing to do, are they?
No, but anyway, there's the three of you, right? And so this is like year 9, 10 and 11 when everyone's trying to kind of be cool and like house parties are taking off and stuff and everyone wants to be a gym bro. You have adopted this kind of military mindset where you genuinely walk round like you're at Limpston.
Yeah.
You give people orders and you try to instigate discipline in a school environment to teenagers.
You're trying to redress the peace balance. You know, I was on a peacekeeping mission from
so you were on a fucking you were on a fucking 6-month deployment to Cyprus on a peacekeeping operation.
And the thing is, right, like I said, I did fucking karate, but I was a dweeb by any stretch. I was like fucking 60 kilos wet through. I'd done this martial art for maybe like a couple of months. I wasn't fucking proficient at it at all. So people who were bigger than me would just be able to fold me in half.
Yeah.
So that never really manifested, but they all probably knew that and thought, who's this fucking gobshite trying to tell me what to do?
Yeah. The thing is, like, it was weird though because everyone loved it. Do you know what I mean?
It was
taken in jest.
It was a funny
because I think deep down also you knew it was funny.
Yeah, that's very true. But you played
but because it brought you attention, you played up to it.
And it's funny because it was actually
so the best
anyone in our year is we'll look back on this fondly, I think.
Yeah. So if anyone from school is listening, we're taking you back down memory lane now. So we need to talk about the security on social rooms. This is the best exemplification of
I don't know where this
whole vibe
stemmed from, you know.
So social rooms are like classrooms so each year was allocated a social room at lunch, and people from that year group could sit in it, you know, if it was raining outside or something, and be sociable, just talk. You took it upon yourself to provide security for our social room every lunchtime, to the extent whereby you would try and ID people on the door.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we were like doormen for the social, which is ridiculous. By the way.
And you say that you would genuinely you'd stand either side of the door.
I don't know where we got this from.
With your arms in front of you like that.
Where have we got that? That's mental, isn't it? Like, first of all, where have we got that from? Second of all, why do we feel the need to do that? Such an inferiority complex or something like that. You know, it's fucking mad, isn't it?
But obviously, like, social rooms would get quite rowdy, right? Yeah. But as soon as anyone's voice was raised or like an argument would break out, you'd storm in and
spring into action.
Security.
Spring into action. Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
That was superb.
I don't know. But I don't know where that stemmed from.
Obviously, like you were. I
think you're right. It's something to do with like attention, though.
Yeah, you definitely because like no one. You weren't actually being like a knobhead doorman. You weren't being aggressive. Like it was in jest, but like you played up to it a bit, and everyone loved it. It was like an act almost.
It was, yeah. It was a bit like an act. It was fucking weird. But I think jumping forward a bit, I think that obviously tars you a little bit with a brush of like people don't want to be associated with that, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of thing. But and certainly the other two individuals weren't the most popular individuals, were they?
No.
So the fact that I was associating with them heavily,
what I will say that
did decrease my brand value.
What I will say that completely rectifies this kind of era that you went through is the fact that you did actually then go on to become a Marine.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Because if you'd done all that at school and then you just, I don't know, rapped, basically, it wouldn't have reflected particularly well on you.
I think the fact that you kind of environmental thing though, because as soon as I got to college, I was normal, like completely.
But the fact that you set out your stall at school and be like, "This is what I'm going to do," and then you actually went on to do it, does rectify.
That's true.
It a bit, I think.
True, but what I struggled with a little bit was coming back. So again, like when I went to college, that was it. Like I was completely I was completely different, but at that point, because you have that ability to like reinvent or whatever, and then. So I was a completely different person in my eyes, but you don't mix with people who you were in school with effectively at college too much. Then I would went away to the Marines, come back, and it had been like 3 years or 4 years since I was in that headspace, right, when I was like 15, 16. and I'd come back and people would still treat me the same. And I was like, I can't be arsed with that. That's bollocks.
Yeah.
Now I'm now in my head a different person, and so I wanted a different interaction or whatever. So I think I was tarred always with that.
100%. They wanted like Sergeant Shepherd, the character.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't happy with that. And I think that took an adjustment period of like a year or two, because as well, like I wasn't always home, and so I didn't have that like touch time with people to redress the balance effectively.
Yeah.
And so
I guess that is a bit like an actor almost who's like renowned for one role. Do you know what I mean? Like when people meet like James Buckley, they just must want Jay from the In-Betweeners.
I bet it's jarring as fuck, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I struggle with that a bit, and certainly my I don't know, what would you call it? My dating life.
Yeah, popularity with the female.
Yeah, it certainly took a dive.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Well, we'll get on to that.
Yeah, we will get on to that. Anyway, that was hilarious.
So my number 4 is something that I reminded you of yesterday. You weren't privy to this, so I might have to do a lot of heavy lifting on this story. Okay. This is the Tunasani Barney.
Oh, that's fantastic, yeah. That's mental.
So this is another social room story. It's quite heavily featured social rooms. A lot went down at lunch.
Yeah, that's where the cool kids hung out, like Eddie.
Yeah, well, as we were about to get into, it wasn't really cool. So there was a no eating policy in these social rooms because they were classrooms. If you wanted to eat, you ate in the canteen. Me, being cool in like year 10 or 11 or whatever, decided to not adhere to that policy, right? So I just scran my sandwiches in social.
Because he's hard.
Because I'm hard. So I'm
cool.
spinning dits to the ladies. You know what I mean? I'll fucking scram where I want, mate. Fucking bitch. But anyway,
that fucking
I was about to scran my tuna sandwich, right, when our head of year popped her head round the door, right. So I shit myself and pocketed this tuna sandwich. Not in my bag.
So your bravado completely went out the window.
I've now got a full-on tuna sandwich sat in my pocket while our head of year dresses us down for something that we've done.
Yeah,
right.
That's
so
not good.
So we've taken a bollocking on the chin, right, and she's fucked off again, right. No one's like, she's gone again, and we're all laughing about it, right. Yeah. And it is as a show of defiance to my lack of respect for our head of year. Yeah. I've proceeded to get my tuna sandwich back out of my pocket and parade it around the social room as a kind of a mark of victory. Right.
Yeah.
What then happens is she comes back into the social room because she hears this fanfare of laughter.
After just giving you a dressing down.
Having just given us a dressing down, and he's presented with me holding a tuna sandwich in the air as a sign of victory.
That's hilarious. And she
Eddie Rex, lunchtime isolation now.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So I've been given a detention at this point.
Yeah.
Right? So I now have to traipse down to lunchtime isolation, which is basically where all the school psychopaths spend their lunch. Right.
Yeah. Because they can't be trusted in Gen Pop.
Yeah, in Gen Pop. And I've had to walk in front of all these psychopaths who are in there for things like, I don't know, smoking and fighting. You know, things that at school are like serious things. Yeah. I've had to walk in there and explain that I'm there for parading the tuna sandwich around social.
Probably didn't go down tremendously well with that crowd.
It didn't. I sat in the corner and tried not to speak.
Yeah, I bet, yeah. And they probably just thought it was this fucking virgin.
That perfectly articulates how hard I thought I was in year 10 and 11, but actually how much of a massive virgin I still was.
Well, that's it. It's like, again, it's a character, isn't it? I think a lot of that is the case at school, right? That you play a bit of a role, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
That isn't quite who you really are, but it's who you think you need to be.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because obviously everyone has nicknames and kind of narratives associated with them at school,
so
and then you then live up to it because it's like this attention thing.
But like when the eyes aren't on you, you're still who you really are, which is like, you know, like you said, like it's still a fucking 14-year-old virgin who's, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's weird, isn't it? Because like in front of people, you're completely different, and then in your own time, I think I was probably the same to a point where I would have that fucking like we were talking about the role and a bit of an acted persona, but I think less so. I was still that person behind closed. I was still like obsessed with whatever I was gobbing off. I was obsessed with about.
But this is the thing. So like at school, while you were going through this phase, like in school, we didn't have that much contact.
No.
But then out of school, we were close mates. So it was weird. So like I'd see you do all this stuff, and I'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not really what you're about.
Yeah.
But then, because obviously you're getting the attention and the limelight from it, you're loving it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's
You're
the
like living.
equivalent, right, of I'll tell you what. It's the equivalent of like a creator now on social media going viral for something they don't truly believe in, continuing to get attention from it and having to continue that persona and having to continue that
Yeah,
act.
we've spoken about that before,
Yeah,
haven't we?
yeah.
Like Eddie Abu.
Yeah, exactly.
You get pushed down that road, and because like
you have to niche down further and further and further to recruit. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think there is definitely a role playing kind of dynamic that goes on, and your true persona sits somewhere below the surface, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Right, you're number 3. It didn't actually happen in school technically, but we were at school, and it's a good dip.
Okay.
This is the grit salt paper bin.
Oh, this is fabulous, yeah. And this again,
This is a
links
test-
back to my organisation.
This is a testament for your poor organisation, but again, you finding ways around it.
Yeah, like I've done in if you watch our European episodes, the stuff still happens today.
So as we've alluded to earlier, I think it was year 10.
Yeah.
We both had a paper round from the same corner shop, didn't we?
Yeah.
Different routes, but we both had the same evening paper
And
round.
we would go at the same time.
We go up together, do it, and then ride back.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you have a paper round, the houses that you have to deliver to day vary depending on whether people have cancelled or whether they're on holiday or stuff. I obviously would get my list and count out the specific amount of papers I needed, knowing then at the end that I wouldn't have any left over.
Yeah.
You, because you couldn't be asked to count and you had ADHD, would just know the max amount you could possibly need.
Yeah.
Take that amount.
Yeah.
Deliver the ones, or just kind of willy-nilly, or...
No, I deliver the ones that were there.
You deliver the ones that were there, but it
And
would...
then the ones that were out. So what happened was, basically, so I would start trying to do the right thing. So I'd start trying to count them out and all this. And it took me, because I was a bit of a retard, it took me ages to count the right amount. I would count the right amount and I would think, actually, is that the right? And I would recount it, and the bloke who owned the shop would be like, fucking, what's he doing? And give me a bit of a dressing down.
Yeah, he wasn't a great boss.
No, he did that a few times, so I got that negative connotation with actually counting out the right amount, because I was like, I can't fucking do it in time for his liking. So what I ended up doing was just fake counting and then grabbing a chunk that I knew would be at least the fucking amount I needed, and then leave the shop and deal with the aftermath basically. And I would go around, hand all my stuff in, and then I had a period of time where I'd come back and have to give papers back to him. And he really didn't like that, because he was like, "What, are you taking too many? I could have sold them in the shop," and all this. And so he really bollocked me for that. So I was like, okay, that doesn't work either. So then, again, problem solving, I was like, okay, well, how can I get around this? I don't want to count them, because he'll bollock me for being too slow. I don't want to grab too many, because when I come back, he'll bollock me again. So I was like, right, how do I get around this? So I'd take the same amount to avoid the first bollocking. And then what I would do is I'd deliver everything. I would pass a prominent grit bin on our estate on our way back. So after my last paper, I'll pass this bin. And I saw it one day, I thought, double take, I thought, it's probably good to go, that. So I was like, I had about 4 or 5 papers, and I fucking just dashed them in this grit bin. And then I'd come back round, and I'd be like, perfect paper, boy, thanks. I'd be like, yeah, no papers left
Yeah, so
over.
you've counted all your papers at the start of your round in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you're not...
Delivered the exact amount I need.
Delivered the exact amount, and then have not brought any back to the shop.
So I was like, in his eyes, fantastic. But in reality, I was pretty much just wasting his money.
Yeah. Literally. So, what came of this? Because I swear, right, someone discovered this stash of papers after you'd done it for a few months, and there was fucking loads in there.
Probably.
I think it was at winter. One of the residents had come to use the grit salt bin, opened it, and then were just greeted by a stash of about 100 Express and Star newspapers. And I remember passing at the time, no word of a lie. And I remember them, I think they said something to me, because obviously I was a paper boy. And they were like, do you know anything about this? And I was like, nah, that's weird, isn't it? Who's been littering them? For fuck's sake.
I was such a shit out. That speaks to, again, the lengths I'd go to not get told off or to not be deemed that I was bad at something.
Yeah.
I had a really bad complex.
You'd invent a creative way around it.
Yeah, and so that was that was funny though. But again, I would again get a bit smart with it and not use the same grip bin all the time. I'd use different ones.
Yeah, I like that.
Get round it.
Right, my next one, and this is very relevant for what we did yesterday. This is school swimming skiver.
This is fantastic. Yeah.
So as we were saying, in the first few years of school, I was quite wet.
Yeah.
Not in the sense that I'd been swimming,
Literally.
Because and one of the things that I fucking hate more than anything, and still do, is swimming. So obviously, our school, we were incredibly lucky that our school had a swimming pool.
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, and most people love that.
Yeah.
Apart from me, because I'm a land mammal.
And we had one lesson a week, which would be swimming, wouldn't it?
So our PE worked in blocks. So say there's 3 terms in a school year. Because we had a swimming pool, you could always assume that for one term at least, you'd be swimming.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
Yeah, and so because of that, because you didn't do things you didn't like, you invented. What did you say?
It became a running joke in the PE office at our school. I think that when my block was going to be swimming, I'd feign an injury or something. I think I had
Such a shit ass.
So for say an 8-week term or what, I think I had a broken finger, and then I had a chest infection, and then
all injuries, by the way, which you can swim with.
yeah. But so it's the old stereotype that all the kind of the pretty birds at school would come armed with a note from their mom so they could get out of PE because they don't want to do phys, and they don't want to get their mates get sweaty or whatever. I was basically the bloke equivalent of that.
Yeah.
Because
sorry, I remembered something. I need to.
You remembered something, right? Okay.
No, they're gone.
Yeah, so it got to a point where it was so bait that I would actually be questioned. So I'd do the walk of shame to the PE office at the start of PE.
Yeah.
And I'd present them the note, and they'd give me a formal kind of police interview of
interrogation.
Yeah, a full on into Abu Ghraib interrogation.
You probably should have done the swimming lessons. You might be able to swim now.
Yeah, well, again, this is a fucking testament to how short-sighted my logic back then was, because I'm still shit at swimming.
Yeah,
and we did tough mud yesterday, and one of the obstacles involved kind of, what was it, a 2-metre platform or something?
Yeah, it's a 10 to 12 foot jump into deep water.
Deep water, and obviously, I'm gonna do it because I'm not fucking wetter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do acknowledge that I am toilet at swimming. So before I jumped off this platform, there's a scuba diver on hand in the corner. I gave him the eyes. I was like, you're gonna need that
Wake
tank.
up, son.
You're gonna need that tank in a minute, son.
Red eye.
So I've launched myself into the Oggin, right, and I immediately get kind of drown rat vibes. So I'm kind of
throwing a tyre.
Yeah,
fucking get him out.
Immediately, the bloke on hand with the tyre threw it in, and he didn't reach me. He had one job, mate, and he fucking missed me. So maybe if I actually swam at school, I wouldn't have nearly drowned yesterday.
Yeah, well, you can take a lot from that, can't you? I'll get you a swimming coach. You think you've got dense bones, don't you?
I'm convinced I have dense bones, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an excuse. Also, David Goggins actually has dense bones, and he's a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, but the thing is, I like this because I like the idea that me and David Goggins have got dense bones. He's nails, I'm nails.
Yeah, he's also got pasties. You've not.
He's a Navy SEAL. I'm a Navy SEAL in my mind. It's the same thing, really.
True. If you ask certain individuals on the internet, it is the same thing.
It is the same thing. Yeah. You can just kind of
you can't manufacture.
You can just method act being SF.
Yeah. Or for example, being a PTI.
Yeah.
Down in London somewhere, you can method act that. Yeah.
Well, actually, you're a storeman.
Yeah.
Right, so number 2 for you. We were reminiscing about this the other day. This is a good one. I'll let you spin this stick because you do better than me. This is Clay Santa detention.
This is great. So, art is one of those lessons, right, which I am toilet at. I'm just not creative. I've got no fucking attention to detail. I'm horrendous. Everything that art involves, I'm terrible at. So,
especially art in kind of the conventional sense at school, where it's drawing, painting, pottery.
As we'll get into.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the project? Do you remember?
What didn't we have to make a stationery cup? A pen holder.
What it was? Yeah.
A Christmas themed pen holder, I think. So it was a mug.
Mine was a plaque. For some reason.
No, yeah. So it was a mug.
Okay.
That you would then put the pens in, but on the front of it would be a plaque that you could design how you wanted, I think.
Okay. But I don't think it was supposed to be Christmas, or was it?
Is that why?
I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. So mine was supposed to be a giraffe. Right, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So on the plaque...
But no, we need to cover some basic admin about the art teacher.
Oh, yeah, Miss Lambert.
Because my next one's going to feature this said teacher as well.
Yeah.
So, and I think we can use a name because she's a bitch, so...
Yeah, and she won't be listening. She's technophobe. So, No, I've no
She was
idea.
basically just an evil woman.
If you think
she?
about Matilda, I guess it's probably
She
the
was
best way.
yeah.
The best way to describe her. So she was like famed for locking students in the art cupboard and leaving them for hours on end.
Yeah, she was like a real life Miss Trunchbull, wasn't she?
Yeah. So exactly. And so she was my worst nightmare. But what counted against me here was my sister was really, really good at art stuff.
So you can't.
She came 2 years younger. She was 2 years older, so she's 2 years before me. So all the art stuff, like textiles, art and all that, I was expected to be as good as my sister, which I was falling so short of. And so,
which is a testament again to how ignorant Miss Lander was, because your older sister was good at art, she assumed you were going to be a protege as well.
Yeah, she assumed art flair ran in the family. Right. Anyway, and so because of that, I had a high expectation, and because I delivered so under par, she thought I was just taking the piss, basically. Other than the fact that I just can't do it. And so what it was that we had to do, like you said, a plaque, and my idea was like a giraffe in a field, right, with loads of clouds and so on. This, I've got it still, I think. And what ended up because I ended up messing it up so badly. My giraffe.
It was indistinguishable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't looking like a giraffe basically, and the deadline was incoming. So I was like, right, how can I salvage this? So I made it into a reindeer, and it was supposed to be Rudolph. So I made the nose red and all that. And it was like, it wasn't even anywhere near Christmas, so she knew that this wasn't on purpose. So she must have thought, well, is he just taking the fucking piss here? So anyway, she gave me a level 3 detention, which was quite a serious punishment in our school. You didn't really get them for much, did you?
No, and you certainly shouldn't get it just because you kind of not gifted at a certain subject.
Yeah, but she gave me a level 3 detention for not being good, and she put it as not applying yourself, because she thought my ability was so far ahead of where I actually was.
Yeah.
Because she was a terrible teacher and a terrible judge of character.
This is the thing, like she wasn't a teacher in the sense, like she wouldn't actually give you a new skill that you could then
She wouldn't
kind
teach.
of... Yeah, she wouldn't teach, she wouldn't educate, she was just a disciplinarian.
Yeah, effectively.
Basically.
She was like a drill sergeant.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you think about it, so like she basically thought you were under-applying yourself consistently for a year.
Yeah.
Just for some kind of weird in-joke with yourself.
I know. And then, so off the back of that, she gave me a level 3 detention, which meant I had to stay behind after school for being bad at something, which isn't a great way to teach, is it?
Yeah, that's mental. But but because obviously she wasn't very, very popular,
no,
she actually did kind of have quite a lot of run-ins with people. So I can't remember who exactly did it, but speak along the same lines of pottery. You know, like, you couldn't have air pockets in the kilns, could you?
No.
So like when we finished our pottery, they'd kiln dry it.
Yeah.
And then like the glaze would come out, and then you'd have your finished pottery piece. Just to fuck with her, some people, I think one year we made a house, didn't we?
Yes.
They deliberately wouldn't leave an air vent in their house, you know, when they put the roof on.
Yeah.
Because they knew that when they put it in the kiln, it would explode. And then also, it's kind of like pottery suicide bomber would then take everyone else's down with them as well.
Fantastic, that is.
So it was in our year. I know which form it was, but I can't remember who exactly got done for it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But yeah, so I think 3 of them did it. So like they did it knowing that statistically across the class, I think there was 2 kilns. They'd have themselves covered. Nice. You know what I mean?
This is fucking great. This is like ISIS.
But this is what you get. So if you're a teacher out there listening, don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
Because
kids conniving little bastards.
They will. If you sound, they'll love you and respect you,
Yeah.
and they'll have fond memories of you forever. But if you're a twat to them, they will go out of their way to make your life a misery.
Because remember, they've got more time in their hands than you have.
Yeah, exactly. And at that age, you're incredibly creative.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that was a bad run-in with an art teacher. But again, I think I blame my sister for being so good at it.
But then I also had a slightly more traumatising run-in with Islander, didn't I?
Yeah.
And this is Tiger Gate.
Oh yeah.
Remember this?
I remember
this is so. I think you got that detention in like year 9 or 10, didn't you? So you're a bit older then.
Yeah.
I had a run-in with Miss Lander in year 7.
Ooh. And we know Eddie in year 7's quite.
Yeah, so I'm a very fragile individual in year 7. You know, I could go off at any point.
Yeah.
So I think it was a standard art class, wasn't it? We were drawing, and I think our homework was we had to bring in 4 pictures of animals. Because in the lesson, we were then going to draw 4 of them and then choose the best one. And
I remember this.
And then focus on that one and do like a proper kind of like, proper sketch of it over the next few weeks. I did the homework, obviously, because I'm SWAT, but I misheard the homework detail. So I brought in 4 pictures of animal heads instead of the full bodies. And kind of being the kind of very inward-looking, kind of shy person that I was, when she came round to look at our homework, I didn't want to kick up a fuss.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, sorry, like, I just misunderstood, miss. Not thinking it would be an issue, you know, because I have done some work.
Yeah.
Her being a bitch, saw her arse about it again, probably thinking I was trying to fuck with her.
Yeah.
Right. So I was trying to kick up a fuss, being like, oh no, sorry, miss, like, I'll just go and print some more off now, like, or like, I mean, I've got the heads, but like, I can just like, I know what a tiger looks like, per se, like, I can just draw that. And she goes, oh, can you now? Yeah, again,
being a
thinking that everyone's in the world is trying to take the piss out of her, like, she's so insecure.
Snape, isn't she?
Yeah. So I've said this just trying to appease her, and she's taking it as an insult. She's going, oh well, if you know what a tiger looks like so well, why don't you go to the front of the class and draw it for everyone on the visualizer on the board, right? So this is Mach 10 now for young
embarrassment.
So I go red at the drop of a hat anyway, and I was even worse back then when I was kind of like really insecure.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I've gone to the front of the class armed with a HB pencil. And I've sat in front of the visualizer, which is linked up, so everyone can see what I'm doing. And I've probably drawn like 2 lines, and I've just burst into tears.
Yeah, not a great showing for you.
Not a great showing for me.
Or her, to be honest, because she's come across a knobhead there.
Yeah. So I can't. So genuinely, this is so traumatising. I can't actually remember what happened after that.
I can't either.
I think I left the class and went down to pastoral. I can't remember whether she told me to go or I just went of my own
accord. Probably that.
Accord.
Probably just fucked off, didn't you?
Yeah, I think
so. She wasn't that like. She wasn't that sympathetic that she would have probably.
No.
That. She probably would have just been like, "Oh fuck it, what the fuck's it?" Because she was such a knobhead.
But yeah, but to be fair, the school knew she was a knobhead. Because after that, so I went down to pastoral and explained it, and then obviously I don't think I did an art lesson with Miss Lander again for about another month.
That's good.
Because I think she had to apologise, and obviously my mum being head teacher didn't see too kindly to that kind of approach to teaching.
Yeah, so that's fantastic.
But yeah, it was just.
I bet Sandra hated that.
Yeah, she was seething.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But she was like a proper, not like the. She was like the old generation of teacher, Miss Lander, but not the good old generation.
Yeah.
You know, where like you'd give kids freedom and respect. She was like very much like disciplinarian, like we said.
Yeah, she was authoritarian, like kind of thing. Because she just had, like you say, she had a complex that she just had to, I don't know, appease, and she would, like you said, think that everyone was taking the piss out of her, and so that would have been why she probably locked people in the cupboard all the time.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, another lad in our class who will remain nameless, but if you're in our class, you'll know exactly who we're talking about. He's now known for his Snapchat stories at the weekend. He was a bit of a Jack the Lad in the early years of school.
Yeah.
He loved being kind of like the class joker, didn't
clown,
he?
Yeah.
And obviously, he was taking the piss in art. And he had quite a few run-ins with Miss Lander.
And he didn't give a shit either.
He thought it was great, mate.
He'd have a shouting match.
The whole class was in hysterics.
Yeah.
Like, Miss Lander was fucking seething.
Yeah.
But it came to a head at one point on one day. She physically locked him in the supply cupboard.
Yeah.
This,
that can't happen.
There's no windows.
No.
There's no window on the door even. This is fully pitch black room in, like, what, 10 years? No.
Like she's disciplining like a dog.
This is, like, early 2010s. So not
yeah.
even that long ago. This isn't like the 70s where you could beat kids up. Like, she's forcibly taken him and locked him in a room.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous.
I mean, obviously, the lad in question thought this was great. So
it'd be a story.
So he was happy to stay there for the rest of the lesson. Yeah. But we were all fucking horrified, weren't we?
Because we thought we were next.
Because she locked him in there and then just got on with the lesson as if nothing had happened.
Oh, because she did it all the time.
And we were just like, sorry, miss, are you going to fucking let him out of the cupboard now? He's been in there for 20 minutes. Like, probably, he's not got any oxygen.
Yeah, I know. She left him in there for the entire lesson.
Yeah.
She's like, you're going to take the piss out of me? Fucking get in there.
Yeah.
She's disciplining a dog, mate. She was like, you know, if a dog's been a bit of a knobhead, like barking too much, you just put it in the spare room, or whatever, fucking lock it in.
Yeah, she was shocking.
Do the same thing. It's terrible.
Right, so where are we up to now?
Just had your.
That was your.
That was your.
Yes.
No, that was. Did you?
Include... that was covered. So we've done two. So we're both on to our number one now.
Number 2, innit? What was number 2?
The clay one.
Okay, number 1.
So this is touching on. This is going back to your midlife crisis, military man.
Yeah.
This is the fact that I can't remember how many, but for at least one mufti day.
That was one.
For one mufti day, Shep decided to come into school wearing his cadet uniform.
Yeah.
Which is
not my finest hour.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of just kind of basic like social suicide at school, isn't it? That.
Yeah, and again, so I've quite a lot of intrusive thoughts. So as you know, now it manifests into like doing races in budgie smugglers, you know, to get some notoriety. Same kind of logic, I feel.
Same logic, but kind of
poorly executed.
Poorly executed, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was what I was trying to get. Again, eyes on myself because I was a bit of a. I was just I had a little bit of a complex.
But all humans crave attention.
True. Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. We were walking. I remember me and the individual walking back one day before Mufti Day, and obviously it's a big thing what you wear on Mufti Day, and it's a big topic.
Well, like we were going back to what we said, like you want to be seen as cool, but you don't want to stand out.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
basically
So you want to wear whatever's in, basically.
Yeah, so basically everyone comes to school wearing the exact same
thing.
Outfit, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and that's fine. But as soon as you wear anything different, even if it's like normal clothes but different, you're gonna stand out. And then we decided to come in our fucking what's it called, like DPM camo uniform with our fucking like proper sleeves and boots on. It's like we were in the SS.
And I remember this because you did it in statistics, so this was year 11.
Was it?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's mental.
So this is the last year of school is doing this. This isn't like a year 7 thing.
Yeah,
this is like we're the oldest year in the school when this is happening.
And this just goes to show how out of touch I was and how much I just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I just didn't give a fuck. It's mental, isn't it?
It's mental.
Well, I was actually, I'd surpassed giving a shit what people thought, or I thought I had. But no, I'd gone so far past it, but that I did care what people thought a lot, but I was under the impression that would somehow gain me social credit.
I don't know whether I've embellished this memory in my mind, but I'm sure that our statistics teacher, Mr. Quirk, made you stand to attention in class or before class.
Probably.
Because he loved it, didn't he?
Yeah.
He bought into the whole cadet thing. Because this is the man that once claimed to have killed a cow with one punch.
Yeah, he was a jack like that. He was quite a joker.
He was basically like a funnier version of Gareth Keenan.
Yeah,
wasn't he? Like,
yeah, been in the army reserves, and he was all like, he was quite a lad, wasn't he?
Yeah, so
because we were year 11, we were like a bit oldest in the school. He could like relate to us a bit.
He could have a laugh with us,
yeah.
And because like he knew that you weren't kind of fully being serious,
yeah.
like he'd take the piss a bit.
Took it a bit, yeah. I think that did happen. Honestly, I can't remember that day at all, apart from walking down to school. I can't remember that day at all. The fact that my mum and dad let me fucking do that is mental,
yeah,
you know?
True. Not even like, are you sure you want to do that, Harry?
Yeah.
Not even like a fucking...
Just fucking check yourself, isn't but it's a weird one, isn't it? Because, again, like, that age is when people start to, like discover girls and all that kind of, like, be kind of, I guess, grow up and go through that transitional period into becoming an adult.
Yeah, that like rite of passage.
Yeah,
where you're like really kind of
like going to parties, drinking for the first time, and doing loads of stuff. And I was going the complete opposite way of just be like we said, being monk mode, which is just random as fuck.
But you went through that after you got into the Corps. You went through that kind of like boozy self-discovery path when you were in the Marines. Yeah,
but it has to come at some point, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's like a pressure valve. It will just explode otherwise.
Yeah, at times I do regret it though, because it was probably a fantastic time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
At school was class.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit.
First time you experience that kind of thing, isn't it? And so the fact I missed out on that's quite annoying. But oh well, it was definitely born out of like a need for popularity or a need for attention. But I think I've still got that.
Yeah. But like you said, you channel it in a better way now.
Well, yeah, but I use it as like fuel. It's same. Like it's the reason. Well, it's one of the reasons I went to the Marines rather than doing something else normal like the army or whatever, because I thought that had gained me respect or whatever. Same reason like I want the business to do well because I think it would give me respect. Same reason I want to be well followed on social media because I think it would give me social respect. It's like all these things or probably come from not being the popular kid at school.
Yeah.
I'd probably
and craving belonging and acceptance.
Yeah, and so like the number one metric now is social media following for people, and when they just initially see you for status or whatever. And so I tie a lot into that, and I think that's probably where it stems from, to be honest.
Yeah.
Don't know, but it's that was a fucking weird day, and a terrible decision. But I was so bought into cadets then. That was almost where I was like the go to. I was like the go to guy in cadets. I was known as Action Man. You know, I was like
Yeah.
proper because in that environment, all of the things I was obsessed with was celebrated. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in a cadet in the cadets, where being into all the stuff I was into overly so was celebrated and was a good thing. Whereas in school, which is where you spend most of your time, it wasn't.
It's got the antithesis, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Interesting.
Right, my number one. It requires a visual aid. Right, okay.
Right, yeah.
This is the fact that in like year 10 and 11, I was a massive walking gym bro ick. And we need to address this. And I have a visual aid to prove my point.
Okay.
Right. So we'll put this on screen now, but I'll print it out for share. This was taken, right, at a house party.
Oh,
right, so you
yes.
think of house parties, you think cool kids drinking. Right, look at that.
I'll have to describe what we're seeing here.
We'll put it on screen.
Oh, yes. Right, where are you? Fucking hell. That,
This is in Chris Neve's sister's bedroom.
that is fantastic. That is when everyone's just discovered the gym, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're in a Hollister vest. And you do know
Which
that.
is a good look, isn't it, really?
So you're in a grey Hollister vest and denim jeans. And that's just a terrible look.
Right,
And
so we need
you've
to...
just started bicep curling, which is great. But you've got like the kind of the cool kids here, but they've just started going to the gym. But when's this? At year 10?
I think this sadly, this is year 11.
And you've got the quiff going to like, all the kind of social things that people that are in that time. You started to try and go for.
So there's a lot
to that.
I don't know. There's a lot to unpack in that image.
Yeah.
We need to start with the bicep tens.
Oh well, yeah.
Which
yeah.
is just a bit tragic, isn't it?
Well, you posted one of them last week, so I wouldn't call it.
Guilty, Your Honour. I'm about 3 Coppersberg deep in that photo, I reckon.
Yeah.
So by year 11 standards, I'm rat arse.
Yeah, you twisted lad.
And I thought it would be good to get all the lads together in Chris Neve's sister's bedroom for a bicep pic.
That is yeah.
That's tragic, isn't it?
I didn't even think about that. The fact that you've rallied the troops there.
What we also need to address is for a point during kind of the house party phase, I also used to take tins of beans.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
So I would, in the midst of the carnage of a house party, I would scran beans for fear of losing my gains. Because Mike Chang told me to eat every 2 hours.
The spiritual king, Mike Chan.
So I've turned up to a house party with 3 bottles of Coppersberg, a tin of beans,
a Hollister vest,
yeah, and a copper coil haircut.
And you've still been let in.
And I've still been let in. That's worrying, isn't it?
That is worrying. That's mental. I can't believe you took beans. I mean, I thought not going to any house parties was bad. I think going to them with a tin of beans is probably there or thereabouts, to be honest.
But the weird thing is, right, I mean, obviously it didn't go down particularly well, but it wasn't discouraged as much as it should have been. I should have been ushered out of that household immediately.
Did you cook them?
Yeah. In the
house?
microwave. But I think because at that age everyone's very much a gym bro, there was a bit of respect, for the looking after your gains. You know what I mean? Like
protein.
Protein. Yes, it's fucking that's tragic, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I can't believe that's a great photo.
And we also, while we're on the topic, need to kind of deconstruct the copper coil. Because for a good year I had this haircut and it is absolutely abysmal. I can't understand why.
Fantastic.
So you can't see from that photo because front on it looks like an actual quiff. But this is it was genuinely like a copper coil. So my hair would come forward and there would just be a flick at the front.
Yeah.
It was like
from the side it would look mental.
It's like I've had like one singular row of rollers in the front of my hair.
How did you do that?
It was like a Hollywood film set. Because like front on, it would look like a real building.
And then it's 2D.
But then if you look to the side, it's 2-dimensional.
How did you get that into that position?
I don't know, because everyone assumed I used rollers, but I didn't, because my hair naturally just did that.
Yeah.
I'd just blow.
Flatten the top bit.
I'd flatten the top bit and then just blow dry it up with the comb, and then eventually with the heat it would curl.
That's mental.
And then I'd just hairspray it within an inch of its life.
Yeah, you were like flammable walking around.
Because you could genuinely flick it and it wouldn't move. It would hurt your fingers.
Well, the thing is, your hair's like a Lego anyway, so it doesn't move without hairspray. So you putting hairspray in it just makes it like you say, you probably snap it.
But instead of just having like this kind of like small quiff, what I like just push my hair over to the side like I do now.
Yeah.
I just persisted with this copper coil.
And how did that go down with the ladies?
Well, not very well, I'll be honest. And in hindsight, I should have realised that.
Yeah, you should take some social proof there.
But my biggest downfall was because I'd only ever see it front on. So it would look like a quiff to me.
Of course.
I was never seeing it side on.
Yeah.
With this weird two-dimensional fucking ginger wave.
It should be said that you went to a hairdresser.
Yeah,
That's probably a downfall, isn't it? Really.
I've like switched my fortunes really now because we've got a fucking ace barber while everyone else now is wrapped
and just got a shit barber.
Persists with a shit barber that they hate. I've actually got a fucking class barber squared away.
Yeah.
Shout out Herb,
yeah.
official barber of the Brummie Brothers podcast.
Exactly, yeah.
But back in the day, I used to still go to the same hairdresser as my mom.
Yes, yeah. So this bloke who predominantly cut
women's hair
would cut your hair as well. And I think, did he style it?
Yeah, so
well, there you go.
And it was very much like a stylist salon, so like you'd end up with his vision. Basically, it's not like a barber's where you go in and ask what you want.
No, you end up with what he wants, basically.
Yeah, basically, because it's like his way or the highway.
Well, and you'd been styled into that and then just kept it going, basically, hadn't you?
Yeah,
because like, where it came
because like I didn't have the wherewithal to just like think of having my own haircut, you know, because you don't want to like stick out or anything. So it's like, oh well, I've got this now, so I've got to stick to it.
Yeah, exactly. And you changing it would have stuck out even more, wouldn't it?
But yeah, that was just one of the many tragic strings to my secondary school bow.
That photo is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's class.
But yeah, so there are kind of top 5 funny school moments each.
Yeah, there's another one.
Go on. This is a bonus ball.
This is a bonus ball, and it's. I don't even know if you were definitely aware of this, but you weren't privy. I don't think. This is also ill-advised, so don't try this at home, kids. But I mentioned, you know, the disciples and the fact that we did martial arts together, right? We didn't do it together. We did martial arts separately.
Together naked.
And then, but so as we've established as well, I'm a bit of an armchair jiu-jitsu fan currently. I was also an armchair jiu-jitsu fan back then, and so I thought the fact that I was, you know, quite adept at a certain martial art meant I was also adept at the other one, the one I hadn't trained, jiu-jitsu. So I'd learn about the rear naked choke and think, fucking that's cool, isn't it? And then the rear naked choke is like it's an arterial choke where you choke you cut off the carotid artery so the blood flow to the brain.
Yes, you cut off the blood flow to the brain, so you're starving your brain of oxygen.
Yeah, and so I heard this guy say, when you do this right, it shouldn't hurt, and it should take about 7 to 10 seconds to pass out, right? And so I was like, fuck, worth a try, that, isn't it? So me and my disciple would go into the PE changing rooms at lunchtime where there was no one in there, right? And
right. Yeah, so what's happened there is you've just gone to say that sentence and you've realised what you've been doing. So you and this other lad have spent your lunchtime in the PE changing rooms choking each other out. Let that sink in. What the fuck's wrong, lad? It should have staged an intervention for you.
I'm going.
Yeah, that's not good.
Anyway, what we were doing is trying to figure out whether we were doing it right.
Did you successfully choke him?
Yeah, we passed out properly. But we would do it until we would we would time 10 seconds basically. If you do it 10 seconds, you're out, but you're not dead. And we'd be limber. You come back to life. It's proper cool, to be fair, because you don't really remember the last 15 seconds of consciousness.
Right,
but,
just for anyone listening out there, this is not medically advisable. And
no, that's what I said at the start.
I didn't know this was going to feature in today's episode, so you definitely got a bonus ball there.
Yeah, so effectively, I wanted to feel what it would feel like to be, watching like UFC and that, to be like fucking choked unconscious. But yeah,
By another man.
the bone of the man. Yeah,
That's brilliant.
That was a feature.
That's fucking great. That says a lot.
I only remembered that as we were just discussing the school there. That's fantastic. Anyway.
Yeah, well, you could have kept that down on the down low.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
Right, so that's... I don't know what else there is to discuss about school, because I think we've kind of explored our experiences through those anecdotes.
Yeah, that was quite comprehensive, I feel.
I guess the only other thing to address is the obvious, and that is females.
I think we need to talk about
because that does formulate. I mean, even though it doesn't actually have any reflection on how well you do at school, it does take up a lot of your mental energy, doesn't it?
Past a certain point, it's all you think about.
It's all you think about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's status. Who's dating who? And status is the number one thing at school.
The only way I can describe my relationship with females at school is basically the in-betweeners.
Yeah, and the only way I can describe mine is basically non-existent.
yeah. So I started secondary school a massive fat virgin, and I ended school a slightly shredded virgin.
Yeah, and you do know that.
And I do know that.
Are there any stories from house parties gone by that you want to kind of relay here? Or,
I don't know. So I came into my own at college.
Oh, did you?
I say come into my own. I said when I was still a virgin, but I was just talked to slightly more girls.
Drop more game.
I don't know if you can. I don't want to fully expose myself, all the individuals involved. But like, you always call me beta test Rex, right?
Yes.
And this is a known thing. I don't know if you want to explain this, but I have a great habit, basically, for talking to birds and then like going on a date with them, or like fucking getting them around my house or something, and then just basically completely bottling it.
Yeah.
Not because I want to bottle it, but because I'm terrible at reading situations.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because your emotional intelligence is good in most,
but not romantically with girls. It's terrible.
It's mad. So,
you literally have to signpost the fact that you like me. Otherwise, I will miss it.
Which is terrible from a male perspective because it never happens that way.
Yeah, because the
male has to make the first move.
Yeah, so
and without you knowing they're interested, you don't make the first move.
And herein lies the issue.
Exactly.
So effectively, like, we won't go into any specific examples, but my experience of girls at school was basically that situation.
Yeah. Well, because you were in that crowd. You were afforded opportunity, you just didn't capitalise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of open loops from school, I'll be honest.
Yeah, we've discussed this at length in
private. And we won't mention certain individuals.
No, but there are certain individuals.
There are certain individuals.
Yeah, they remain open to this.
And they are rent-free.
If you're listening. But
they're not listening.
But my experience with girls at school, like I said, was non-existent.
See, you were weird at school, actually, because you talked to older girls.
Did I? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. I wonder what that was. Weird, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, this is like the thing, so it's like, most people at school talk to girls in their year. You being like this fucking, decided to be like, this maverick would talk to girls like a few years older, which was like unheard of.
Yeah, like girls who were like 2 years by my sister's age or something.
Yeah.
So weird. Probably the reason I didn't get anywhere, to be honest, because I'm this like kid who's trying to fucking drop game on like...
yeah, so you're dropping game on your Nokia brick to these birds, and they see you as like this kind of lovable younger brother character.
Yeah, I haven't quite got that yet. I didn't quite understand that. I had
Go on.
I throw myself under the bus enough. So I had quite an affinity for a certain individual in our year who we're both aware of.
We're both aware of.
For basically the entire time, never actually shot my shot, which is great.
Metaphorically and literally.
Yeah. Well, again, my social status at school didn't help me with that because it didn't back me up with any credibility.
Yeah.
But that was probably the main open loop for me, and then, like you said, the older women. I didn't
the 14-year-old girls.
Well, your relative. I forgot about that. I didn't know. Yeah,
because again, we won't mention any individuals, but this is going to throw you under the bus slightly. So
fantastic.
I think it was you and Fell. Josh Fellows, he's probably listening in his work, man.
Shout out.
Stayed around mine for a heavy FIFA session one night.
Ah, yes.
So this was part and parcel. We do this on a weekend because we weren't old enough to go out at this point. What we'd do is we'd all go round someone's house and have like a fucking sleepover, but we just game until the early hours of the morning, basically. And I think at one point you'd gone for a piss, and I got your Nokia brick phone, and just about in the time you went for a piss, I could type out like, "Will you go out with me?" to this bird, the older bird that you really fancied.
Yeah.
So you come back in and I've sent this message. You're
Unaware.
You're completely unaware. And then about 10 minutes later, you get a message back or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably didn't get a message.
Probably didn't get a message back. Or whatever. I can't remember whether she messaged you back or because me and Fell are so immature, we couldn't keep the laughter in anymore, and we just started giggling and had to explain ourselves.
Yeah.
But anyway, you then become aware of the situation.
Kicked off
and
completely,
for lack of a better phrase, lose your head.
Yeah, I lost my shit.
I think it involved you throwing the phone at me, missing, and then hitting a radiator. And then there was a lot of stomping around for a bit. I think.
The thing is, I was playing the long game with this individual, right? So,
and this wasn't in part of your strategy, was it?
No, this wasn't part of my 12-point plan. I hadn't quite got there yet. I hadn't laid in the foundation. But yeah, I remember that.
Also, on a side note, I'm pretty sure I didn't have that bird, like this older girl, have a boyfriend for almost the entirety of the time you were talking to her.
Probably, yeah.
Again.
Boyfriend gate again.
Yeah.
That's continued.
But the more we unpack our school life, the more that we actually the more it becomes apparent we're still just the same people.
Yeah.
Just the environment's just changed.
Not great, is it?
No. We still have all the same flaws and tendencies.
Yeah. What are our flaws and tendencies?
Well, I'm still beta test.
Yeah, you are still beta. You're getting better at that.
I am, and
not with females, but you're getting.
Well, that's fuck. I've given up with that now. To be fair, and you're getting better with your obsessive personality.
A little bit, yeah, but it's still there. But it's always going to be there, and it's part of your character.
You still definitely have the look at me gene, where it's like you want people to look at you.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
But again, you've channeled that in a good direction now, because when people do look at you, it's good for your business.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. But it can be detrimental. But so can everything. I think that everything has a cost, doesn't it? Nothing's free. I think.
What I will say is that people that we did go to school with who listen to this episode will have a great time trying to decipher the names of all the individuals that are fucking
referred to as individuals.
Yeah,
because a lot of them are pretty cryptic.
Yeah, they are cryptic, but like they should be able to piece it together. It's like a cryptic crossword for them.
Yeah, well, I'll send it to certain individuals see if they can decipher themselves.
Yeah. But have you got anything else to add? Really?
Not from school, I don't think.
Because the thing is, when we go through what we change with the school curriculum next week, we'll touch on school again because we'll have to draw on references anyway, won't we?
Yeah. So that's probably good to go, I think, for that.
But as a broad overview, if we're kind of framing this in the context of next week's episode, you need to appreciate that we weren't that popular at school.
No.
And that's an understatement.
No, and also that your older years are shaped almost by your experience at school, but I think that can be in a positive way or a negative way, can't it?
I think it depends how you frame it at older age.
Yeah. You
can either be bitter about it or you can learn from the fact that you're a dweeb.
Yeah, basically.
Effectively.
Yeah. But I think there is definitely a correlation between how I live and what I do now, and because even like all the fucking self-development shit I do, and even like the kind of educate, and I'm boring you with like statistics and things I've learned on podcasts and stuff. It's like you don't give a shit, but I'm trying to ratify my own like. I'm trying to make myself sound smarter than I am, effectively.
Yeah.
I don't actually have that knowledge. I can parrot back statistics.
You're just a vessel of other people's knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the person I'm telling doesn't give a shit. Like my dad, when I'm telling him, when I'm chewing his ear about Chris Williams, doesn't give a fuck. But like, it's a thing for me to sound like I'm more educated than I am. I think that comes from again being like that at school. But yeah, it's interesting. It does definitely shape who you are.
Yeah. But anyway, let us know how you got on at school in the comments. We get more traction going in the comments. If you got any funny dits from school, put them in the comments. Got nothing more. There's nothing more like better than listening to fucking people's tragic stories from school.
Very true.
you know what I mean?
Well, hopefully that's been the case from this episode for them. Yes, so without further ado, we'll go through underrated, overrated.
It's either underrated
You've charmed me.
or it's overrated.
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
Yeah,
you wanna go first?
who wants to go first?
You can go first. Yeah.
Right, okay, this is quite seasonal as we're approaching this time of year. Underrated or overrated? Halloween.
Ooh, okay. I think. Wait, you can come at this from two different angles here. The nights out
Did you
can
just-
sometimes be fantastic.
Oh, is it, you just had an intrusive thought
I
then,
have,
did you? I could see your eyes. What you just thought then is, I'm not really into the sweets or the holiday, but then you just thought girls dressed as cats, didn't you? Girls in skimpy underwear.
Guilt, yeah, well. And so did you also.
In fairness, I hadn't framed it like this.
I bet you thought it was overrated.
So what?
Until now.
So what I'm on about is Halloween as a kind of holiday.
Oh yeah, it's bollocks, isn't it?
It is, but like if you actually trace back the origins of Halloween to America, it's bollocks.
It is,
It's grounded in fuck all. It's just a consumerist holiday now.
Oh yeah, it is.
And like, all the sweets and the fucking skeletons and the pumpkins, even though I look like one, are shit. Right.
They are shit, yeah.
Having said that, you've now added a completely different element to Halloween, which I think is underrated, and that's birds digging out to look promiscuous by dressing as
It's
cats.
the only time of the year where that's acceptable, and it's fantastic.
It is, isn't it?
And also, well, to be fair, I have a bit of an issue with fancy dressing that it never really delivers. It's always a bit shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you know, it can be an excuse to get your kit off in a nightclub. So, I'm not against the idea.
And as we've just spent the past hour and a half discussing, you can get on board with that.
Yeah, I can get on board with that from a look at me perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
look at me gene likes that.
Yeah, he does like that.
He also likes looking at birds who have the same philosophy.
Same gene, yeah. Have a lot in common. So yeah, I don't know. I think from the traditional look standpoint, it's probably overrated. But from my curveball, it could be deemed underrated. But that's not Halloween. That's just
Yeah, I think what we've done, we've moved the goalpost there.
Yeah.
It's actually Halloween is shit, but it's just the fact that Halloween
The way it's celebrated.
allows people to dress quite skimpily, if that's a word.
Probably.
It is now. Do you think what we're really celebrating there is women in lingerie, effectively?
That is what we're celebrating, yeah, which is not great, is it? From our perspective.
And it says a lot about our minds that we immediately went to that place.
That's true.
And
Well,
not the toffee apples or the trick or treating.
No, but I knew where you were coming from with it. So I knew when you said Halloween, I knew you thought it was bollocks. So I was immediately trying to think of something where you wouldn't think was bollocks.
And naturally, you went to boobs.
Yeah. And so
But I can get on board with that.
yeah, well, it worked. So I think we'll go neutral because they've brought the scales, but they've redressed the balance effectively.
Yeah, so I think it's rated.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. That was hilarious. Yeah, I can't believe you didn't think of that. Come on. This is very on brand for me at the moment. My underrated, overrated is Apple products, and I'll tell you why. I know we sat with loads of Apple products around us, right? The price of Apple products is fucking mental. While they are definitely best in class, and they're pretty much the best thing you can get of what you need, but just how are they so expensive? It's madness.
I don't know, because I haven't really looked into this. So I'm not really much of a tech geek. But I haven't broken down how much it actually takes to produce.
Yeah, well, I imagine it's not $2,000 for that, is it?
No, and if you actually trace back where they source these materials to like the horrible kind of like
cobalt
mines in Africa, which is effectively like modern slavery, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is, let's be honest.
Yeah. For the microchips.
And I doubt those poor African children are seeing much of that $2,000.
Yeah, you can probably bet that, can't you? Well, like that, there's a whole thing they do in the Apple Store to make it seem more valuable than it actually is. So it must be overinflated price-wise.
It's like your fucking psychological moonshots
that's
here,
what I mean,
obsessed.
yeah.
But it's all just clever marketing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
But they have such a stranglehold
On the industry.
over everything, really.
Well, it's your whole life. If I go through what I do on a day-to-day basis, right? So I listen to music, AirPods. I go on my phone all day to work, iPhone. I work on my laptop.
But that's what I mean. So like,
You know,
it's
expensive.
literally without Apple, it's almost like a necessary evil, because without Apple products, my life would be completely paralysed.
Yeah. Well, the thing is though, like that's about $2,000 the new laptop, right? The best PC you could probably get is probably 600. It's crazy. The difference is mental. What is there? Is there that much of a difference in like power and processing power? Probably not. Don't know.
It's like a cult.
But
I know I always go on about cults,
Yeah.
but like people's loyalty to Apple is almost cult-like.
Yeah, it is. But I will say, because most people have an Apple product, it makes everything else easier. You can AirDrop, for example.
This is what I mean. So
Unbelievable.
it's like a necessary evil, because
Yeah.
if you're that one person who decides to try and fight the system and bring down Apple
Buck the trend.
bring down Apple single-handedly,
Yeah.
you just end up being the outcast who it's awkward to send photos to.
Yeah.
You can't fucking FaceTime them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the I tried this, but basically I lost. Did I lose my AirPods? Probably. I thought I'd lost my AirPods, then I really did lose my AirPods. But anyway, when I thought I'd lost my AirPods, I went replaced them with this like £115 pair of Samsung Bud things, and they were shit. Like
Yeah.
they are fucking terrible. And yes, AirPods are like twice the price, but you know when you buy AirPods, they're gonna be good. Whereas I wasn't quite sure. I was thinking they could be great, and I got the sound quality was all right, and I'd run and they'd fall out, and then like just little things because they haven't tested them as much. I don't know. Like Samsung's a huge brand as well. They should be sick.
Yeah, well, you know me, like I'm very kind of critical of like hyper-capitalism and consumerism.
That's what I thought it'd be good.
But for some reason, I can square away in my mind. I can justify the need to buy like an expensive Mac.
I'll tell you
because
why I
I've-
brought this up though, because I'm in the market for a new phone. Basically, my entire TikTok page now is just iPhone reviews, and a lot of them are saying, "Oh, it's shit," and they've not changed it from the 13 to the 15 and all this, and now the 15's out, and everyone's like, "You shouldn't buy it because it's basically the same phone as it was last year or the same phone as it was 2 years ago." And so, how can they keep reinventing the wheel and it keeps getting bought by the market?
Well, this is the point with the phone, because I think the iPhone now has reached a point where it literally offers everything that you need, and it's going to take the next massive leap in technology to improve on that. I think the only thing really where there's still room for improvement is the camera, and I think,
Is there?
well, I don't know, because I'm not a camera geek, but when I buy a phone, primarily now, ironically, I buy it for the camera.
But the thing is, your camera makes things look better than my eyes make them look.
And we have found that out.
It's like that.
It's
How
meant-
can that get better?
But when you take a photo on my phone, what have I got, the 14 Pro?
Oh yeah.
It takes the photo, and then like it takes a second to process it, and then the photo that you have in your photo library is like a spruced up version of the actual photo it took.
Yeah.
It's
It like
mental.
auto edits it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
that's
mental.
Bizarre, mate.
So unless they can keep making the camera better, I don't know where they're gonna go.
That's why they keep struggling. They're like, "Oh, we've announced some really, really cool features," and it's like you've changed a button or.
But this is what I mean. So like the next step surely is that next leap in technology where it's like augmented reality.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's actually like
It's
a
in
chip
your
in
head.
your mind and it's in
Yeah.
your head. Because beyond that, while it's still physical, I don't see what else they can do.
No, so like Android have tried loads of shit, haven't they, to try and like outdo them, like outshit them basically.
Like that
they've got
fo-
that like fault.
I was just about to say, the
That
foldable phone is a gimmick, isn't it?
Bollocks, that is. But that's one of my clients had that. It's just like it's fucking shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it looks shit when it's folded up. Because it looks like a fat phone, which now looks weird. And then when it's out, it just looks wrong. It looks like a Kindle.
And it's got even though the screen is one screen, it's still got a horrible crease down it.
I know.
When you fold it out,
That's fucking.
that's just jarring. You staring at that for hours on end.
And it's
that's
not
gonna-
nice. It's not like ergonomic because it's not one. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
that's the other good thing about Apple products. They're ergonomic as fuck.
Yeah.
They just are nice to handle and feel.
Oh mate, so it's class, isn't it? And you know the unboxing process, right? Found this out on my TikTok binge this morning. Is something they spend like thousands of hours perfecting.
Yeah, of course it is, because it's
So,
your first experience
You
in
know
the product.
when the box comes off the
Yeah,
outer
yeah.
shell, they're like experimenting with different pockets of air and stuff, so it like slips off nicely, so it's got that thing. And then it's like you peel off the screen thing. It's like they do 3 senses, like a touch, see, and then feel. They have all these things where they invest into every part of the process.
The thing is, they can afford to do that because they charge just premium.
Exactly. Yeah. And they have like we were on about the psychological moonshots in the store and all that kind of thing. But it's just it's so mental how much you're willing to spend on it. Like that new phone is £1,400. That is ridiculous.
And I bought mine new though
I know.
for about £1,000.
Yeah.
Flex.
Yeah. Well, I found yours for £1,000. Which is what's your fucking data thing? Your gigabytes memory.
Like 256 or something.
Yeah.
It's not the standard one, I don't think, because I knew that I'd have loads of photos and videos and shit.
Yeah. You can get a terabyte phone now, which is bizarre.
That's mental.
Yeah. But anyway, Apple products, I think they're fairly rated because everyone fucking agrees that they're really good. But if you're someone who's Android knows and you think that you're better than everyone, you're not. You're basically just enduring the worst product to tell everyone that you've endured the worst product.
Yeah, you're not going to bring down global capitalism and the Apple brand single-handedly.
No. And ultimately, you can't airdrop things. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll win. Anyway.
But yeah, that's overrated, underrated. Final thing, reasons to be cheerful. I'll keep this short because I'm desperate for a piss.
Reasons to be cheerful.
So the Champions League's back. That's a reason to be cheerful.
Yes. Has it been 2 weeks now? 1 week?
1 week, I think.
Oh, yeah, only had
It's
one.
just had the first round of the group stage.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's something about European football that's unbelievable.
well, not necessarily just the Champions League, but what I'm on about is kind of like midweek football in general. So obviously we've gone from the summer where there's no football, where you're kind of twiddling your thumbs in the middle of the week,
Yeah.
to like the start of the season where it's just at weekends, to now, basically, up till Christmas and beyond, you've basically got football on to a high level pretty much every day.
It's unbelievable.
And if you sprinkle that in with other sporting competitions, like the Rugby World Cup's on at the moment, you spoil it for choice.
Yeah, and that's great. And the thing is, the Champions League, just there's something else about it. The football Premier League is good, but there's something that happens in the Champions League that it doesn't happen in any other competition. It's mental.
Because it is the pinnacle, though. And like, if you ask players, they want to perform in the Champions League. Like, they do dig out more for the Champions League,
moments,
which is
things that happen like in ridiculous moments in football always happen in the Champions League.
because people are playing like to that extra heightened level.
Yeah.
They want to perform
On that global stage.
exactly.
It's class. There's nothing better than certainly when it gets to like the knockout stages. It's unreal because they're the best teams in the world, and you get to see them fucking throw down. It's sick.
Exactly, and Liverpool aren't even in the Champions League this season,
That's
so I
mental.
don't even have to worry about the draw.
Yeah,
I can just enjoy the Champions League
For what he
and
does.
then hope that they fucking win the Europa.
They better do because that'd be embarrassing.
Sure, they're probably the best. They got the best team on paper, haven't they? Really.
Well, as we know, that doesn't really count for much, does
No.
it? So Champions League's back, which is phenomenal. But yeah, that's pretty comprehensive, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, we've rabbited on for fucking ages there,
What
lads.
time is it?
1:30.
Fucking hell. Right, yeah.
That's gonna be
that's
very-
all, people. So that's going to be long to edit, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun Sunday afternoon for us. But yeah, stay tuned next week for our comprehensive unpacking of the education system.
Yeah, as you can probably tell, we're not fans. So we'll see you next week.